So I've wheeled this Jeep everywhere in the southeast. I've been to Moab twice in it. I would go every weekend with a club and wheel somewhere and then drive it home. And that was the intention of this vehicle when I started, was just to build something that I could wheel and drive it home without any issues. So over the years I've got a few little dings and dents, you know, as would be with something of this age. Nothing catastrophic, no major body damage, nothing like that. I mean, you know, that's from a fellow Jeeper who tried to get by me, broke that plastic cover, which it is plastic. I've got a few little dings here and there. That one I came off a ridge and popped it on a rock. I mean, the body overall is straight as an arrow. I'm like, there's one little ding, and that is from Teleco years ago. I could probably tell you every single thing that, you know, there's a little bitty one there from a tree. So other than that, there is no issues with this body as far as body damage. That is it. So on to the mods. All right, this engine is not original to this Jeep. I had a very bad lower end knock. Couldn't figure out what it was. Took it to one of my good buddies who's a professional mechanic. We did a diagnosis on it, and his diagnosis was it was bad camshaft. So the price to rebuild from that and find another engine on eBay with less miles, I just opted for that. So this is out of a 2001 TJ, and it had 86,700 miles on it. The swap was done in 2018. Since then, I put 13,745 on it. Now that will change a little bit. I'm going to drive it to and from work a couple times for sale, you know, things like that. Now, as far as the engine parts, new oil pan gasket, valve cover gasket, water pump, thermostat, plugs, and plug wires. Replaced the radiator. That was a little bit before that. New clutch fan. It's got an air raid throttle body spacer. You know, those things were all the rage with the TJ guys. They don't do much but make a cool sound. I've got 1-inch aluminum motor mounts, which are JKS brand, and those are for angle of the engine when you lift it with the belly up. You have to adjust for the engine. I had to redo the exhaust. I got in some rocks and it crushed the rocks onto the exhaust. So I'm trying to do this in the sun if I can see right. So right here I had to cut it. There's no two sensors slightly above it. I cut the pipe, replaced it. This is a muffler. It's a Dodge Charger resonator. I mean, it works perfect. Good sound. It's tight and compact. And if you guys are looking for a muffler, man, I highly suggest that. So as far as that goes, I've done oil changes every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, and that is no exceptions. I'm very particular about upkeep and maintenance. And the other part about this engine, it doesn't leak a thing. No oil, no antifreeze. I mean nothing. It's dry as a bone under here. That is water from when I just washed it, so that is not leaking. But it doesn't leak anything. So that's a pretty rarity in a TJ. All right, so now we're gonna move on to transmission transfer case. MV3550 I replaced years ago when I first got it. Just was making all kinds of racket, so I replaced it. Probably got about 60,000 miles on it since then. Trans mount was replaced about 2 years ago with a factory piece. During the swap, I put a new clutch, which was a Luck Pro Gold, and that Luck Pro Gold is probably top notch as far as rock crawling. It's made to slip, perfect. I changed the speedo gear to a 488, which is geared for. It is perfect on 35s. Speedometer is dead on. I'm running 37s, so it's a little off. I'd say 5 miles per hour off. The transfer case is original to the engine. I've changed fluids. I never had a problem. No slop in it. Engages perfectly. And I'd like to put a 4-to-1, but this thing does so well, there's no point. Let's see what else. It's got a Tom Woods double carbon rear drive shaft and joints. The front drive shaft is a custom cut I had a place in Athens build this for me, just ODM steel. And again, no leaks, no issues, dry as a bone. Never had a problem with it. Can't complain. All right, now let's talk about suspension real quick. So the suspension is just a 3.5-inch Rubicon Express coils, front and rear. It's got a 1-inch body lift. That's just because the belly up on it, you have to do it, or else the trans shifter case and things like that hit the belly pan. Fox 2.0 shocks. Those things are, I'd say 3-4 years old. I've got the sky jacket belly with the transfer case relocation bracket, which it engages better than anything. I mean, it's like butter. You just pull it right back. Now, as far as axles go, a friend of mine was selling some axles, and I drove all the way up to, if I remember right, Indiana to get them. And so the front is a mid-80s Jeep Wagoneer Dana 44, and it is trussed. It's got chromoly 30 spline shafts, inner and outer, Spartan locker, 488 Yukon gears. Now the cool thing about this is it has a high steer conversion, so instead of hitting your tie rod on everything, it's well out of the way. And they are harsh terrain steering knuckles on both sides. Custom welded mounts for everything, and all the mounts are just beautiful on this front one. Chevy 1-ton tie rod drag link, TNT Customs 1-ton track bar and kit, which it is, if you can see there, it's welded to the frame. You can adjust it as is here, but it's adjusted perfectly for 37s. It's already been cut to clear. We tested this thing pretty good on the RTI ramp and in the rocks to make sure everything clears perfectly. It's got Rubicon Express quick disconnects. I just pop them up in the perch there and they stay. It's got Warn premium locking hubs and JKS upper adjustable control arms on the front, which those are great. I've had those for a while, but they're fantastic. And then your rock crawler set up here in the rear, and just a solid diff cover in the front. But all axles, I changed the fluids in these, man, at best 8,000 miles. I'm just very particular about changing these things. Okay, rear axle is out of a 80s International Scout, and it's a Dana 44. Now the axle tubes are a little thicker than your standard 44. Let's see, it's got 488s, chromoly axle shafts, and it's got a Detroit locker. So the Detroit locker, if you do buy this, takes a little bit of getting used to as far as how to drive it. Since it's a stick, you go into a corner and you give it gas, it can lift the front tire off the ground, and shoot, you can very well break an axle if you give it too much gas and you're getting stupid with it. So it's just a let the clutch slip a little bit in the corners, and like I said, I'll drive you around and show you how well it can be driven. Now this thing has it's trussed. Let's see if I can get the other side here. Artec lower control arm mounts. Those are 3/16. I replaced those. I bent one on a trail ride, the stock ones, and just said the heck with it, I'm upgrading. So it's got a Romkin rear coil correction kit, which puts your rear coils straight instead of all arched, as TJ's, when you lift them, they get all arched. Highly suggest doing that. Drum brakes, which is fine. Just didn't feel like changing over. Rock crawler rear diff cover, Terraflex rear lower shock extenders. Those are great for a little bit extra clearance. I just put brand new bump stops in it 3 days ago. Now this kit, this TJ correction kit, comes with bump stop. There's aluminum pieces there, and you can adjust the bump stops as needed. So if you're running a 35, you don't need as much clearance, then you can change the bump stops. But this thing is pretty cool. It's a 4-link from Rock Crawler, and you have to weld new brackets up on the frame. I'm trying to do this with seeing it. So it eliminates your rear sway bar. Drives fine, no issues. It's a pretty neat setup, and this thing flexes really, really well for a short arm kit. I have really been impressed with this kit. Drives great, no issues. All right, wheels and tires. So I'm an old school guy. I like 15-inch tires and wheels, and so I wanted to keep 15s. So I went with a 37-inch Truxas MT, and those are made by Interco, Super Swampers. And I have been through at least 6 sets of these tires over the years, in 33s, 35s, and love them. Moab, they just hooked up like crazy. They do really well in the mud. Snow, fantastic, but I've gotten great mileage out of them, and they are really quiet on the road. They're balanced great, no wobbles, no nothing. And I'd say 75% tread left. I mean, you see your tread indicators there, so you won't have to worry about these for a while. All right, I'm going to try to go through the list of other mods here. So I did a Durango power steering box upgrade, and I tell you what, that is a heck of an upgrade for somebody that's running larger tires. It doesn't overheat. My old box was just whining. Did this upgrade, no issues at all. 37s, it handles. I can turn in the rocks one-handed. It's awesome. Now, the pitman arm on this is a Sam's off-road pitman arm, and if you see how thick that is, you're never gonna break that. Like I said, I wanted to build this thing to where every part on it is overbuilt for the Jeep, and I want to wheel it to where I'm going, and I want to get it home and drive it to work if I need to the next day. And that's what I did. So let's see, power steering frame skid plate, which is right here. The 9,000-pound winch is a Warn. I don't know where the cap is. I have lost that, so it's just got electrical tape on it so water doesn't get in it. Runs great. Synthetic line, standard hook. I've got the wired cable for it. Controller. Let's see what else. Grab my list. All right, metal cloak rear fender skins. I wasn't planning on doing any metal cloak fenders. I just like the look of it. And when I went to 37s, I wanted to get rid of the flares, the clear, and these worked out really well. So I've got rock lights that I have done myself. Not a particular brand. I mean, it's just regular lights you buy in any Pep Boys or something, and got them wired up front and rear, and one in the back for a reverse light. Now the headlights are Sylvania Performance. They're not HIDs or anything, but they're way better than stock. Your LEDs, those are rigids. I put a 19-gallon fuel tank in it. It came with a 15. I replaced it way back when. Got in some rocks and it bashed it, had a hole in it. Got an oversized spare tire. This thing holds up to a 37, and there's your 37, and just mounts to the tailgate, no issues. The tailgate hasn't sagged. I've run 35s on it, and tight, no issues. Let's see, the quick release mirrors. What I did with these was just put a big blind spot mirror on them. That way you can see everything out of that Jeep. It works perfect. Did the JK front turn signal, because when I cut my flares I had to have blinkers, so these are just JK turn signals. Now the fenders, as you can see, this is a stock fender, and all I did was take a piece of tape, Sawzall, trimmed it off so I could clear 37s. And the mod actually works really well. I mean, it's very simple. If you can cut your lines crisp and clean, you can fit 37s, keep your stock flares, don't have to buy aftermarket. And the Genrite hood louvers, you know, I thought it would do a little more than it did. I really couldn't tell a difference. I know they make full-size replacements for the whole hood, but I didn't want to cut the whole thing. But they look pretty good. I forgot about the bumpers. So LODs. LOD is a brand that's been around a long time. Kind of unknown still, but if you want a good bumper for fairly cheap, boy, these are they have held up some abuse. So this is a front stubby, and I had a welder of mine weld up this stinger, You know, it's got a few dings and scratches, but all this stuff can be painted. I didn't want to have to paint everything. I don't feel like hiding something from somebody. The suspension's all unpainted. I mean, I'm not trying to hide anything. Frame's perfect. So that's why I didn't paint anything. Here's my rear LOD. Now, this is kind of cool. So I wanted a skid plate, and I didn't want to buy one of them boxy ones. So I had my welder buddy put a 3/16 plate on here and weld it to the bumper. You can remove it when you pull the bumper off. It's not hard, but it covers the entire tank there, and you can see some scarring there and good old time marks. It is awesome. I love it, and it has taken some abuse. All right, the top is the best top. I think it's a replace the top, if I remember right. You know, just your standard top. All the bows, everything inside has been replaced. I bought all this new entire kit when I replaced the top. My old ones were pretty beat up, so all this bow hardware is brand new. The top's not very old. No mildew, no nothing on it. It's beautiful. If you don't like the color, you can paint it. I actually painted one with fabric paint, and it lasted for years. Interior uppers, I replaced these about the time I got the top, and they're brand new. They are Smitty built, but brand new. So interior, these doors I got from a friend who had a Jeep that was painted like a coppery orange. I left that on there. I painted the doors. This door, for some reason, was the second door I painted. Didn't do that well. I don't know if the humidity changed or what, but I got some I don't know if you can see up here, a little bit of cracking and I don't know, something in the humidity I think changed. Now the other side is beautiful. I don't have any issues over here. I left the door handles orange just because I was afraid if I painted it, it would chip off with the use. But as you can see, this side's, you know, perfect. So interior, let's see. These don't have the interior panels. They came like this, and I actually like them better because you have a nice pocket in here to put stuff, and works out good. It's all stock in here. I've got the plan was to build a cage for it, but plans change obviously, so it's waiting for somebody to put an ice cage in it. Comes with a bikini top, which is this. It's just folded over. I keep it inside the Jeep attached, so all I gotta do is literally fold it over and attach it to the windshield and ready to roll. As far as the head unit, I've just got a dual head unit in it. It's fine, nothing spectacular. There's the switches for the lights and the backup light, and you know, just stock. This piece here around the boot broke. Never replaced it. 30mm ammo can, which works great for, there's some extra U-joints and things like that I always kept in here. Seats are stock. These are neoprene. They're, you know, cheapo neoprenes, but they do the job. Back seat is all stock, no issues. I mean, it's barely been sat in other than my kids. I drilled a couple of more holes here just to drain the water, because I don't know why they didn't put more for a TJ, but the water would pool up, so I said heck with it. Like I said, stock interior, stock dash, everything works, you know, cruise control, everything. Now as far as things that don't work, I've got, let me pull up my list here, hold on just a second. All right, so I'll go through a quick list of just things that I know need to be fixed, or I know don't work, or I think might be an issue. This passenger front hub, by hand you cannot get it to the lock position. If you get a pair of pliers, you can get it there, but something in there internally is just holding it up. I don't know if it's a spring. I've got a little box of parts for this one, but I've never messed with it. So right now this front locker will not engage on this side, so it doesn't affect anything else unless you want to go four-wheeling. So it's a set of hubs for repairs like $170. Replace it isn't that bad, but again, I'm just letting you know that this hub is not fully functional right now. Now it needs AC. And when I say it needs AC, when we did the engine swap, when we got down to taking the AC apart, I could not get the condenser lines from the condenser itself. The two hard lines that were sitting here somewhere, I couldn't get them apart at the joint. So I didn't have time to mess with it, and so I just cut the lines. I said I'd fix it later. And so all the stuff's there, all your AC and everything there. The only thing it needs the condenser, radiator, and the two lines. That's it. It worked great when it was plugged in. The heater works, everything's fine. Just needs the AC done. Let's see. I've got a very small exhaust leak. It's not a cracked header. I think it's at the flange where the header and the exhaust pipe meet. Just never messed with it when I did the engine swap. I couldn't really get to the bolts really well, so it could just be the bolt itself is a little loose. You know, it's simple. On a very cold day, when you crank it up, you can hear it. But when it's running, you don't hear it at all, or very minimal. I'll have a running video here shortly, and that way you can hear it. But other than that, now I don't know if this is everybody's TJ or just mine, but I have read a lot of issues with these TJs. They'll get an occasional no bus, and it'll read no bus on the cluster, and all your gauges will go dead. Driving, sitting still, doesn't matter. It just happens. I haven't had any issues as far as driving this thing, any kind of effects from it. It's just a weird quirk. I've tried every single fix. I've tried pulling the engine plugs. I've tried everything. Can't get it. But anyway, it's just something that happens when you're driving it. It might not. It's just very random. Also get an airbag light occasionally, and it just shows up red airbag, and it'll go off after a little bit and done. So now the check engine light sometimes will come on. That's because I don't have an O2 sensor, and I don't have catalytic converter. I don't have emissions here in this county, and I just figured I'm not going to fix it until emissions come. So if you want to fix it, it's an O2 sensor and a catalytic converter. But honestly, if you're living in a county that doesn't need it, there's no issues. This thing runs great. What else? Let's see. Flip the page here and you see what I'm working with here. It's windy today. The left rear tail light. So this has been an issue for, I don't know, a long time. When you got the lights on, it fast blinks. Only on this left side. Right side is fine. And at night, if you hit the brakes, it's got a dim light that shows up instead of a bright all of a sudden. It's dim and then it gets a little brighter. It's just something I've dealt with for years and years, and I've changed the light housing, I've changed the plug, I've changed the wiring, and it's just something somewhere. But again, it's just a quirk. Nothing wrong with the Jeep itself. Other than that, I mean, I have owned this thing so long. I know every single nut and bolt on it. It's just been, it's been part of the family, and I hate to sell it, but it is what it is. So if you're interested, hit me up. I can answer any questions you have, even after the sale. Keep in touch with me. If a weird noise happens or something, I guarantee you I could say it's this or that. But this Jeep overall is ready to go. I would not hesitate right now to get in it and just drive anywhere, and have no issues with it. Like I said, it's 488s. It's gas mileage on the highway. I clocked the last time, it was actually getting 15 to the gallon, which is impressive. So it's not too shabby, but it can be daily driven. You can put it on a trailer and wheel it, whatever you want to do with it. It will be up to you. Thanks for the time.